In this tutorial, we'll discuss the VMT standalone utility ASCII2KML. This utility for transferring ship track data from Wind River 2 ASCII output files to Google Earth. The standalone utilities within the VMT toolbox run outside of the main VMT GUI. There are several that are included. In this tutorial, we'll go through the ASCII2KML. In a separate utility, we'll go through the ASCII2GIS utility. And we're working on a third for stationary profile measurements, stationary profile analysis of ADCP data. So the purpose of the ASCII2KML utility is basically to allow a user to quickly identify locations of transects for evaluation and grouping. Examples of this might be that you've completed a survey in the field and your field notes are lost and you can't identify which transects were at specific cross sections within your study reach. Or you're given data by a cooperator or a colleague and you need to review that data. You see some anomalies in the data and you want to identify the exact location of the measurement, be able to look at the measurement reach through aerial photography and so on. So with this ASCII2KML utility, you can quickly identify your location and determine which or where your transects were located. So the utility will bring up a browser window that allows you to select the ASCII output files that you want to identify and transfer. You select all the ones that you want to create KML files. It will create one KML file for each transect selected. And those can then be loaded into Google Earth using the Google Earth file, open command. Loaded in, and you can hover over each one and see you see which transect goes with which file and so on. It's a nice, very nice tool for quickly identifying which transects go on what cross section. So from here, let's launch straight into a demo of the ASCII2KML utility. Okay, to launch the ASCII2KML utility within VMT, if you're running these utilities within the MATLAB environment, you'll want to type at the command prompt ASCII2KML_GUI. And this will bring up the GUI for the ASCII2KML. If you're running outside of the MATLAB environment with a compiled version, you'll simply run the ASCII2KML executable. So once I run this, it's about as simple as it gets in terms of a GUI. There's only one button, one thing you can do, and that's to run it. So we hit run, and this is going to bring up our browser window. So within our browser window here, we have to select the files that we want to process. So I'm going to navigate to that file, or that set of files. So once you've selected the directory that contains the ASCII output files, you select OK. And it brings up your Select Data Files window. So you want to select all the files that you want to convert to ship tracks, to KML ship tracks, that is. So you can select all. You can see this is 4 transects. These are 4 transects at one cross section. A series of status windows will update you on the progress of your conversion. Once everything is finished, it'll say conversion complete, and you say OK. And now we have data files that are located within our VMT directory. So now if I browse to that directory, so I go to Training, Tampa, and Data, White Wabash. Now we see we've got these KML files. So if I organize this by type, we've got 4 KML files, one for each of the data sets. So I can do a couple things. I can double click on one of these and open Google Earth, and it'll take me to that location. So there's one single transect. If I want to add the rest of the transects, I say File, Open, and I can select the other 3. Now there's all 4 of my transects, the ship tracks, that is, for each of the transects. This is in the case of the White Wabash confluence. And to be able to identify which transect is which, I can just hover over a particular line, click on it, and I see this is transect 18. I can go somewhere else, see this is transect 22, transect 17, and transect 19. So I can identify that transect 17, 19, I think it was 20 and 22, all belong in the same cross section. So it's a nice, easy way to identify where a section is. And obviously, if you were looking at velocity data and you didn't know you were at a confluence, but you see some anomalies, a shear zone, and things like that, you might load this and be able to quickly identify why you're seeing anomalies or unique data. So, in any case, that's the ASCII to KML utility. I'll give you an example here of how to load other data files. So you can go back and say Open, and I'll show you a couple other examples with other data sets. We can go to the Wabash IMBRA, and we can select all those data files. And now this is a full reach survey, so it's not just one cross section. I processed a whole set of transects at a cross section, or at a study reach. And so what we see here is we've got a bunch of different cross sections that were run, some with 4 or more transects, some with just 2. We've got a series of longitudinals, so you can quickly identify which are the longitudinals out of your ASCII output files. And so it makes pretty quick work of identifying your transects if you've lost your notes or have poor notes in the field. So that's the ASCII KML utility as a part of the VMT toolbox. If you have questions, you can consult the user guide or contact myself, Ryan Jackson, with the USGS, or Dan Parsons of University of Leeds with any questions. Thank you.